Well, hey Book World, I am so excited to see you tonight. Welcome to episode 9 of RTTV. I am so thrilled for tonight because we have an amazing topic that is so relevant to you as an author because we are going to be talking about your website. Now, this is so important because this is what represents you to the world. This is the first thing that your fans are going to see, and this is what's going to tell them that you are a professional, this is legit, and you are creating good things that people want to see. So how do we go about getting our websites to really communicate who we are, communicate our message to people, and get them to buy our books? Well, I'm excited. We're going to jump right in because this is going to be an amazing episode that touches on all the things you need to know when you are planning your website, when you're planning your website redesign, when you're talking to your designer, and when you are presenting it to your fans. So here we go. Let's jump in.
Welcome to RTTV, brought to you by Reading Transforms, with your host, K.M. Robinson of K.M. Robinson Photography and Reading Transforms. If you look to the right of your screen, you will note a chat box. We encourage you to ask questions and comment throughout the show. Our moderators will be watching the feed and collecting questions for our hosts to answer during the end of the broadcast. Use the red question mark tab to differentiate your questions from your comments in the feed. If you are a member of our Facebook community and our weekly newsletter, your notes will be emailed to you shortly. Make sure that you are active this week in our Facebook community for deeper insights into how to apply this into your marketing strategy and for ongoing support. Welcome to the weekly live broadcast that will revolutionize your author branding, book marketing, and social media marketing strategies.
So let's talk websites. We all have them. We have to have them for our brands this day and age, but there is a trick to these websites. You see, literally anybody can make a website these days. WordPress blog, template, header, words, boom, and we call it a day. But while most people can make a site, most people cannot make a site that is a good website, and even fewer can make a site that engages people and motivates them to do the thing that you want. In this case, to buy your books and get engaged with you on social media. Even big brand names have trouble with designing their sites to be effective. In fact, yesterday I got an email from a jewelry accessory store that I love, and they asked me to take a survey on their new website. Well, with a chance at a gift card that I know I'm never going to win, I clicked on it to see what it was up. Mainly because I had no idea that they had redesigned, and I kind of wanted to see what they were doing. So I pulled up their site, and it was pretty, but I noticed some flaws. Now, these weren't flaws that most people would notice, but as a designer who really understands what it takes to get conversions, which is the fancy word for saying getting people to do what we want them to do, I immediately saw some things that needed to change so that they would have a more user-friendly experience that would actually get their people to connect with them better. So, how then do we, as book world professionals, get a site that not only looks nice, but it gets our fans' attention and gets them doing what we want them to do? Well, like I said, I've been doing this for a while. In fact, I started creating websites 14 years ago. So let's talk about the realities of web design for authors and how you can best help your designer. The first thing that we need to be aware of is what your website should not be. It should not scream, "I am a free WordPress website template." In fact, I would go as far as to say your website should not be a blog at all. You should have a blog, and it should be attached to your site, but you should not have your fans jumping into a blog post when they click on your website link. Here's why. Your website is like a handshake. It is your formal introduction to the world. It tells people that you are a professional and you are good at what you do. Your blog is how they get to know you as a person, how they relate to you socially, and how they see your personality. It's very important to have both. Your website tells them that you are legit. Your blog tells them that you are cool. Your website is the first thing that they should see, and it should only have the most refined content, while your blog should be updated frequently so that you are raised higher in the ranking system, so that you develop a trusted relationship with your fans because you are putting out consistent content, which is something we talk about all the time. I do not ever recommend using a blog as your website, but if you must, you need to set a static landing page that does not change, that has all of your important author information on it. Fans should never see a random blog post when they log onto your page for the first time. So, what is important to have on your website? Well, the most important things to have are your bio picture, your name, your contact information, and information about your books with where to buy them, and not necessarily in that order. You also want to have things like an actual bio, any accomplishments or awards. You want marketing graphics of your books. You want links to blog posts that are the most helpful and representative of your brand. You want photos of you at your readings or conferences or events or anything that gives you standing within the community and that shows that you are a real deal professional. People want to see that you are involved with your brand and your fans. So you have to show them at least a little bit of that social aspect within the presentation of your site so that they know that you are an active author. So let's talk about look and layout. The first thing that is important is your theme. Your website needs a theme, and this should be a part of your branding. If you've taken any of our branding courses with Reading Transforms, you know important information is that you have to have that message. You have to find that brand or that thing that stands for what you represent as an author and a public figure. This needs to be translated not only into your website, but your blog, your social media, and really all of the marketing that you do. So at this point, I'm going to run under the assumption that you've been with me long enough that you have a true brand figured out. And if you have been with me for a while now and you've got your branding figured out, you already know the colors and aesthetics that you are going to be running with for your website. But just in case you're new around here, I'm not teaching you today how to figure out your brand theme in this particular episode, but we can talk colors. Your colors should represent you and your brand, and hopefully they don't clash with your book covers too much. You should have 3 main colors on your website: your main background color, your main text color, and your complementary pop of color. Now similarly, we need to have no more than 3 fonts on your website: your main header font, your main text font, and a complementary accent font. These 3 fonts shouldn't be overly fancy because you have to remember that some people have trouble reading a computer screen. So your header, your font, and your text need to be simple enough that it won't confuse anyone that has vision problems. Now your accent font can be a little fancier, but you need to avoid anything too loopy because you want it to be readable. Your website should have no more than 6 main sections, but you can have sections within those sections. I recommend a home page with information about your books and awards, an about page with information about you, a contact page so that people know how to reach you and find you on social media, a books page where you have everything listed about your books, including the buy links, and maybe a few quotes from your best reviews, and then a media page where you put up any press that you get from your book. You might also want to consider a calendar page, but you have to be very careful because you only want that if it's beneficial enough to you that you have enough events that you are going to look like you're fairly busy within the book community. Now, pro tip, if you want a calendar but you aren't doing a signing tour, you can fill it up with blog, radio, and show interviews. If you are involved as an author and you have a lot of book world projects that you are working on, have a projects page for the events that you are going to be running. That's really important to have that as a separate page. Now, if you have a life that you want to represent outside of your author life, you should absolutely get that on your site, but it should not be its own page. I've seen this mistake too many times. People are there to see your book career, not for you to advertise your paintings or your pottery or your teaching work or your candle business or your sewing career. So if you happen to do something else, and I imagine that most of you do, like me, we have a lot of the things that we do, you need to put this information in your bio section and then link it from there. Now that we've got an idea of what we should go on your site, let's talk about your layout. What is your goal with your site? What is the thing that you want your fans to do when they come to your site? Well, as an author, your answer is going to be that you want them to buy your books. So your focus needs to be on driving them to your books, and your layout and your website copy need to reflect this. Your website goal is to show the viewer that you are a real-life person and that you have books that they would like to read. When they first jump onto your site, they should be introduced to your books, any awards that you've won or great book things that you've accomplished, and they should be very aware of the fact that other people like your books. Remember, we want to give them social proof that your work is worthy of their attention because other people really enjoyed it too, and that means your quotes. Now, the trends in websites change every few years, and if you work with a web designer who does not stay up on these trends, you're going to end up with a website that looks like it's from the early 2000s. And this does nothing to help your case that you are a relevant, engaged, and connected author. Currently, the trend in professional websites is to have sections within the homepage of your website that are then clickable to go into a more depth page. Basically, it's a glance at every section that pertains to the most important and relevant information, and it's all laid out in one place for your fans to see. So for example, if you look at the Reading Transforms website, you'll see that I have designed it in sections that can be scrolled through. Most of these sections have clickable links that then go into an expanded section within my site. This is exceptionally helpful because with every click I force someone to go through, it's less and less likely that they are going to continue clicking through it. Remember, we don't like to waste our time, and having to click on links to find information puts up a barrier to entry that we don't want. We need to give viewers the lowest barrier of entry possible to our sites to make it super accessible to them, and they've already clicked on one link to get to our site. They're only going to tolerate so many clicks before they move on. Only the most dedicated people will sit there and click through a lot of links. And those are people that want to be there anyway. They are your super fans. Our goal is to bring in new people and convince them that they want to be there. Making them work for information does not help our case. Now, the buttons for your different sections should be in two different places on your site, near the top and near the bottom. And oftentimes people forget to place them on the bottom of the page, and that forces fans to scroll back up to the top to accomplish anything that they're trying to do. The only exception is if you have a hovering toolbar at the top of your page that stays there no matter where you scroll. So make sure you have it in two different locations. Your website needs to be visually appealing. It should have a very clean look. Nothing should seem like it was just thrown onto the page. That's never good. Make sure you're keeping everything very high-end looking because you are representing your professional brand. So how do you go about deciding what is right for you? And then how do you go about communicating this to your designer? Well, I have one word for you: Pinterest. Yeah, Pinterest is something that you should jump on, and then you should be creating 3 secret boards, one for color schemes, one for text ideas, and one for your graphics. And you need to be pulling images of everything you like for these 3 categories. Now, you then need to go through them and pull only your favorites. And pro tip, these should be things that kind of fit together. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your text types so that they complement each other. You don't want something over here and over here that don't really mesh. So now that you've got those 3 boards, you need to curate those collections into one final collection of images on a new separate board. You should have no more than 25 pictures or so on this board, and that is from all 3 boards put together. Make sure your colors don't clash, don't have any strange text combinations, and make sure your graphics vibe together. You want to make sure that you have comments on each individual image about what you like or why you like it for your site. Now, you need to be aware that when you hand this link over to your designer, that they are going to be using this as a reference to get the feel of your site right. This is not a letter for letter or image for image copy and pasting thing. This is only informing the way that your site will be built. The text will not and should not be the same, but it should be similar. The photographics will not be the exact images, and you should be aware that you are responsible for getting these photos to your designer to use on your site unless you are working with someone like me who is a professional photographer and you are paying them to be taking the graphics that you will be using. Otherwise, you need to either license the images or take them yourself and then get them to your designer. Now, this Pinterest board that you are creating is only to help them understand what to do to make this website really you. You need to be very aware of your deadlines when communicating with your designer. They will have deadlines for getting things to you, but you will also have deadlines to get things to them. After all, if you haven't sent them the words and the photos and the links, they cannot do their part of the work. So you have to be very aware of getting things to them on time so that they can be on time. Now, I would recommend that you organize yourself into folders on your computer. Have a folder for all of your individual pages, and then have subfolders for your copy or the words to be written on that page. Have a subfolder in that folder for the graphics, and then label them in order of how you want them to appear, and stay very, very organized with this. Then send that very organized file with the subfiles to your designer. Make it as simple and straightforward as possible. The less time that they have to waste rearranging things on your site later, the better for everyone. The key is to create an experience for your fans. If you give them a boring site that a teenager designed on WordPress that is slightly nostalgic of your old MySpace page, that's going to be a problem. But if you give them an experience that is as fun as jumping on their favorite jewelry store site or a website of their favorite new movie, then they are far more likely to stay and actually care to read what is on your page, which then also motivates them to hit you up on social media. Hello, website goals. Now, a good website is worth the investment. Think about it. If you go shopping and you walk into a store that honestly has quality stuff, but it kind of looks like a 5-year-old trashed it with all of their birthday party friends, and then the back corner has some weird shaped mark on the ground that could potentially be a scene from a murder mystery, and the light is flickering in the corner, and the sole employee stares at you from the back table without saying a word. That happened to me this week. Are you really going to spend a lot of time there? But if you walk in and the employees offer you a sample of yummy chocolate and everything is displayed nicely and you know exactly where to find everything, don't you enjoy that experience? You probably enjoy it enough to actually tell your friends about it, right? Exactly. Make your website worthy of attention. Give your fans a reason to stay, and then make sure that they know you are the real deal and not someone who has to beg for fans, because you've already earned them. So let's talk. Hit the chat box on the right, let me know your questions. Use that red question mark so I can tell what's a comment and what is a question. Our moderators have been watching in the feed and have sent me your questions, but hit me up with what you're worried about and we will chat. Okay, so I knew we would have a lot of questions this time because websites are one of those things that really people have a lot of questions about and really want to get in there and talk about what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So I left a lot of time for questions today. And so our moderators have gone ahead and they have sent me your questions. We are going to take a look right now. So how many pages should I have on my website? Well, like we said, we want about 6 sections within your website, but within those sections, you can have more sections. So you can have those subsections in there. So in your bio section, maybe you've got your information about you, you've got some pictures, but you also want to expand upon that and tell them a little bit more. So on your homepage, if you were running with that sections that I was telling you about, you would have a little blurb about yourself and a picture, but then they could click on that and get into a more detailed version of your bio, which may even have links to outside sources or the other things that you're doing. So it's okay to have more than 6 pages, but on your main section of your website, you want only 6 sections because otherwise it's going to get overwhelming. It might get a little confusing. It might be hard to find things. But within those sections, it's totally okay to have more than just that little bit that you've got on the homepage. So as many pages as you need, but stick to those 6 sections or no more than 6 sections. It's okay to have less, but you really don't want to go over that. So find a way to kind of combine things down. What if I can only change the header on my website? So we are talking about something along the lines of WordPress. And so let me just give you a little shout out here before I answer this. With WordPress, we've got WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.com is based on WordPress. So if you have your site name .wordpress.com, that's all hosted within WordPress and it doesn't give you an awful lot of freedom. If you are running with a WordPress-based website, you are definitely going to want to get a .org domain name. So you can get your own domain name. You can grab that WordPress.org site and host it yourself on your own site. You can get your site through GoDaddy or whatever. That's actually what I do. So my resource page for Reading Transforms is a WordPress.org site because I wanted to use the ranking system within WordPress because they're connected to Google. So on my main website, that's totally me. I've designed that myself. The Reading Transforms website, that's all me. I've done that within my own programs. But the resource page is a blog from WordPress.org, and then I hosted it on my own site. So it's not readingtransforms.wordpress.com. That does not, well, that used to exist. Don't go there. It's old. But I have resources.readingtransforms.com, and that's where I host it. So I've got that blog in there. It's for my resources. It's for all my articles, and it ranks it higher within Google because yay that. But you can host it yourself. So if you're doing a WordPress blog or a WordPress site as your website, make sure you are hosting that yourself. Go ahead and buy your domain name. You can get that real cheap on GoDaddy.com or some other website like that, and then host it yourself. It's easier and it's more professional looking, and it's got your own name. So run with that. But to answer your question about what if you can only change the header on your website, I might caution you to get a professional designer and really have them get in there and redesign the whole site for you. You might want a template that's a little more user-friendly as opposed to the free ones. But you're going to want to make sure that your header goes in line with whatever you're doing. So if you've got your theme, your brand, your color scheme, you really want to play that up within your header, but also within the text, also within your background colors. And then if you have your website and a blog, like I hope you do, I really truly hope you do, we want to make sure that that header is then tied into your website. So whatever your website looks like, it should be reflected in your blog and the way that's designed. It should also be reflected in your social media. So your Twitter bio banner thing and your Instagram picture, they don't really give you a banner, but Facebook gives you a cover image. All of these things should be connected to that website. They should look similar to that website. So if somebody saw your website and then they saw your social media, they would immediately realize the connection between those. If somebody saw your website and then your blog, they immediately see the connection between those. So you want to make sure that those are connected by the way that they look. Same colors, same fonts, same design. You want it all connected and brought together. Now, if you can only change that header, you really want to focus in and make sure that that is absolutely perfect. It's not overwhelming, and it kind of fits with the aesthetic of the site. So blend it into the site as if you designed it. So don't necessarily have a very bold and designed header so that it looks like a header. Have it more simplistic and blend into the rest of the site so that it looks like it is part of the entire site that you've designed and not just a header on a blog. How often should I redesign my website? This is a good one to ask. Basically, we are saying you should be redesigning your site about every 2 years to stay relevant. I tend to redesign mine at least once a year. Sometimes I go every 6 months. Sometimes you want it to be there and have that lasting impression. So when I say I change it, what I mean is I tweak it a little bit. I kind of rearrange some things and add a little bit. So it's relatively the same, but then it's different. And then you do an overhaul every 1 to 2 years. You really want to make sure you get that because you as an author are creating new works. You have new books out, you have new things out, you're doing new things within the industry, and you want your website to reflect that. So you have to be aware of what you're doing and then keep your site socially relevant. So if the trends in websites are changing, it may be time to update. If you have new projects in the works and you're releasing new books, it might be time to update. If you are doing something totally different than what your website was representing, it is time to update. So stay relevant and don't let it last too long. At least once every 2 years. I would almost recommend once every year or year and a half, just to kind of have something new and fresh and representative of you. That shows that you are active and engaged within presenting this material to your fans. So every 1 to 2 years, I would say, at that minimum. So how long does it take to design a site? Good question. Well, I am a designer, so I do kind of know this one. Typically, it takes like 2 weeks to design a website, and that's with all of the back and forth. So Once I start designing a site, I will not start doing anything until I have the content and the information from my authors. So we will sit down beforehand, we'll talk about their theme, we'll talk about their brand, we're going to talk about what represents them, and I'm going to give them ideas. This is what I can do. How about we try something like this? What about something like this for you? Is this going to be interesting to you? And then I will have them sit down and send me things that they like. So if we hit the nail on the head, we know exactly what they want. I don't bother with the Pinterest boards. If they need a little bit of brainstorming time, or they want to get some ideas, or they kind of want to show me some visuals, then I send them off to create their Pinterest boards and bring that back to me. And then we talk further about what they want, what really works for them. And then we sit down and we actually try it. So I will design the site up for them, and then we will get into what we need to tweak, how we need to fix things. Is this working? Is this not working? What are we doing? And we're making sure it's just the way that they want it. Now, with me, and with most designers, there are a limited number of tweaks that we can do. So once we have the main site decided and we have it designed up, there are a certain number of tweaks we will do. And then if you want other things done, we have to be paid for our time, because we all have to be paid for our time. So there's just like a little bit of an hourly fee. So whatever you need done after that point, if you want tweaks, totally fine, happy to do it. Most of us are, but yeah, you got to pay the hourly rate on top of that, just to kind of add things. And that also translates over into site maintenance. So I don't know about with all of our designers, but with me, I will design a site and then it's good to go. And whenever they need updates, it's an hourly rate. So if they want something changed, or they need a date added, or they need photo added, or whatever, I will then charge them an hourly rate. And within that time frame, within that hour rate, we just keep going. So even if it's like a 5-minute tweak here, a 5-minute tweak here, I just keep adding it up till we get to that point, and then we bump it to another hour. So we don't kind of, or at least with me, I don't overcharge in that I can do something in 10 minutes, but I get paid for an hour. I would get that 10 minutes, and then I would add the next 10 minutes, and then I would add the next 20-minute section up into an hour, and then I would get paid again for another hour. So just check with your designer. It depends on who you're working with. They have different rules and different regulations and different priorities within their business. So just ask them first before you jump in. You don't ever want to jump into a relationship with a designer and then find out that you're not going to click, or you don't like the way they work, or you're not going to be able to work with how they work, or their time frames, or whatever. So just get to know them first. That's why I always do consultations with people when we talk about what's going to work for them. What colors look good on a site? Well, I mean, different people, different things. It really depends on your brand and what you're doing and what you want to do and what you're representing for your books. But I would definitely say either go with a light color as your background color and then darker colors for your text and your images to pop, or go with a dark color and lighter images and lighter text, because that's really going to help with that. So you want to be very, very aware of having those different and those contrasted colors so that it pops and makes it easier to see. Now, I do want to point out that your website needs to be mobile friendly. So we know that most people are looking at our sites on their phones, and we know that they are going to need a mobile friendly experience on their phone to see your site, or they're not going to be there. So it used to be that a lot of websites were not mobile friendly, and you would have to do all sorts of weird things, and it would be all weird looking, and it just wouldn't be good, because sites were designed for laptops and for desktop computers. Now most sites are mobile friendly, so you want a designer that works with a mobile friendly format. So a lot of websites, if they're using specific websites like WordPress or Showit or whatever, those are already designed to be very functional with your phones. But if they're designing it from scratch, they can also make it functional for their phones. So all of my websites are within a formatting that works within a phone. Most designers are aware of this. Most designers work with that. So just be aware. And always ask for references. Like, if you need to see somebody's work, check it first. If you don't know them, if you haven't seen what they do, ask for their other clients or ask for their websites, and then check it on your laptop, check it on your phone, check it on the different things that you are doing to make sure that it's going to work for you. Now remember, with these websites, you get what you pay for. This is not something that it's okay to go with the cheapest person possible because you want to save a few bucks. Think of it like this, and I love this analogy because I know that in my lovely chat room here, I have some fabulous foodies, and so I'm going to give you a food reference here. So let's pretend that you are feeding somebody, okay? We are feeding, maybe your in-laws are coming to dinner or something, and you want to give them a nice meal. Now you have the option of getting a meal from a 5-star restaurant, feeding them this 5-star restaurant meal. Or you can go to a nice restaurant. Or you could go to a cute cafe. Or you could do something you created. Or you could do something that your 7-year-old niece created on her very first attempt. So we've got these different levels. We've got that 5-star, we've got the nice restaurants, we've got the nice cafes, we've got your 7-year-old niece who's just learning to cook. And you have those different options, and you get what you pay for. So if you are paying for that 5-star quality, you're gonna get good quality. And if you pay for good restaurant, you're gonna get that good quality. And if you pay for a nice cafe, you're gonna get that nice website. But if you skimp and you do it with your 7-year-old niece who's just learning to cook and maybe use the microwave instead of the oven, you're gonna get that not so great quality. So you have to really figure out what you want. A website is an investment, but it is an investment that you need to make because it's representing your brand. It's just like that store we talked about. You could have a gorgeous store that everybody loves and it's beautiful and you know where everything is and you get chocolate when you walk in and it's magnificent. Or you could have the murder mystery room where you don't know what's on the floor and it's got some good stuff in it, but it's a little terrifying to walk into the store and you worry about where you are and your safety. And you see all this old stuff and it's just not good. So what do you want to represent to your fans? Do you want to represent your amazing brand? Because you, beautiful, wonderful author, you are a professional. You have earned the right to say that you are a professional. Your book is out in the world. People love your book. You deserve to be respected. And your website needs to reflect that you are that professional. And if you just use a blog that your teenage son made for you that doesn't have any training, but hey mom, I'll help you, that's probably going to represent you in a not so good light because it's not going to be the best. Maybe you've just got that little fuzzy header and the design from the 90s and whatever. It's got to be representative of you. So even if you have design elements that you like that fit with your brand, you want to make sure it's created by someone who is trained to do it. So if you have the ability to create your own website, if you are trained to do your own website, good for you. Do it yourself. You know what you want. You know what's going to work for you. Go for it. But if you aren't trained, you do not have the power to create a high-end website. You need to outsource this. And you need to do it with someone you trust. You need to do it with someone who knows what they're doing. And you need to do it with someone who is trained. Because if you don't, you're going to get a site that is not going to be functional. It is not going to get your fans to buy your books. It is not going to get your fans to see your social media. It is not going to get your fans to think of you as someone who is culturally relevant and socially relevant and worthy of hanging out with. And that is your main goal on your website. You want to introduce yourself to them in a formal way. That is so important because this is their first time seeing you. If they are looking up an author or if they've read a book that they love and they want to see more about this author and your website is in your book, as it should be, they're going to jump onto that website. And this is the very first representation they see of you that is not through your characters. This is all you. And you want your website to show them, I am a professional, I've done this, I have invested into my brand, and I am investing into my fans. That's the most important thing here. So take your time, find someone who is good to work with. Try out a couple of different people. Look into their past work and see what fits for you. Meet with them. Talk with them. Consultations are a good thing. They are your friend. Tell them what you're looking for. See what ideas they have. But don't ever enter into anything without knowing you want to work with this person and knowing how they work. Make sure you know how their business is run so that you know what to expect, what is expected from you, what you can expect from them, and how it's all going to mesh together to make your website. You need to invest in your site. And yes, I know this is going to add up. And maybe you don't have the money for everything right this very second, but that's okay. Because there are a lot of designers out there who are going to work with you on this. Because we want to make money too. Designers need to make money. This is their living. And they're going to be able to work with you if at all possible. So most of us, I don't know about everybody, but I know most of us are happy to work with payment plans. So you can set up a schedule with them. Say, this is what I need. This is what we're going to do. Figure out what you're going to do for the website. Have your timeline of things done. And then get a payment plan. So much this month, so much next month, so much the following month. And then your website will go live once you're done paying. Or in some cases, they'll actually host your website or they'll put it up live, and you just have to pay it because you signed a contract saying you would. So it depends on who you're working with. Typically, they wait until you're done paying, but you can spread out those payments as much as you need to do. And most people are going to be willing to work with you because they want to get paid, they want to get the work, and you want your site done. So if you can kind of collaborate and mesh together and have that payment plan, people are going to win on all sides. Designer gets paid, gets the job, and you get a website. And you just have to break down those payments. And I do this all the time. I mean, this is not an uncommon thing. I frequently work with payment plans for my clients, and most people do. So when you're doing this, reach out to them, ask them what they would do, how they do it, how it would work with you, and if they do payment plans, because that is important. No one's going to look down on you for doing a payment plan because we all want the work. We all want the website to get accomplished. So reach out to them. Ask for payment plans. Take advantage of this because people are going to work with you. This isn't a scary thing. This is something we all want to have accomplished, and you can make it happen simply by asking if they have payment plans. So I would encourage you to go ahead and take a look at your website. There are some things on your website that you absolutely essentially need. And you know, I never leave you without a bonus. I always give you a bonus downloadable freebie, and this week we have one for you that's all about your website. So if you jump on to shownotes.readingtransforms.com, we can get you signed up for our weekly show notes newsletter that will drop additional information about each week's lesson. It's going to drop your freebie downloadable bonus, and it is going to drop some other content that we don't talk about on the air that really helps you out. So shownotes.readingtransforms.com, it's going to go out tomorrow in your newsletter so that everybody has access to this website checklist. You can go through and see if your website meets up to standards. And if your website does not meet these standards, it's probably time for a redesign. And this means you get to go in there, you get to figure out what you're going to write, what you're going to say, what you're going to get on for your photos, what you're going to put on for your text. You get to talk to a designer, so talk to the person you're working with, talk to a new person, or if you are trained like me, do it yourself, and get your website up to standards so that your fans have a good, quality, interactive, engaging experience with your website that really opens them up to your world and your brand and gets them involved in your social media, which again, website goals. So take the time to grab that bonus and really go through and find out what is working for your website and what is not working for your website so that you can create a quality, high-end, gorgeous, amazing website. Now, if you jump on to tv.readingtransforms.com, you can join our community and you will get our show notes. All of our links there are for our community and our show notes. But if you jump into our community, and you can do that by jumping onto community.readingtransforms.com, that will take you to our closed Facebook group so that you can be a member with us. And every week I am in there, I am supporting people, I am working on the lessons with them, we are breaking things down, we are checking each other's sites or the different projects we're working on. We are there to build each other up and really support each other. And these are authors just like you in the exact same place as you. You can get recommendations for things, you can get support for things, you can ask your questions. I will be there, the other fans will be there. It's fantastic, it's a great community, and I would love for you to join us. Now, there is a process where you have to request to join, and that is only because we just want to kind of keep the people who are scammers out. So you know how people join groups and then they post things about buying shoes and sunglasses and whatever. We just don't want those people. So I have to approve you to come in, but I just make sure that you're a living, breathing person, and then I click that you are welcome to join this group, and you're in. So it'll probably only take a few hours. I tend to kind of hang out on social media. So whenever my phone gives me a notification, I jump on there and I take care of things. So within a few hours, you should be allowed into the group and hang out with us. I would be so thrilled to see you there. So again, thank you guys for joining me. This has been so wonderful. I love talking about websites, not only because I design websites, but because it's fun to use in your marketing, and you know how I love my marketing. So we are talking design, we are talking about your layouts, we're talking about your copy, we're talking about all the things that make a good website today. And I am so thrilled that you have joined us. Now make sure that you are hanging out in the community this week, because I will be dropping some really amazing tips for designing your website all week long that are going to make a difference in the way that you are planning your website. So I will see you in the community. It's going to be awesome. Here are just a couple of things I want you to remember before we go tonight.
Hey authors, I know that marketing your book can be so confusing, especially when you don't have a big budget to work with, but I want you to know that there are ways that you can market your book without costing you a cent. I have come up with a list of 20 totally cost-free marketing ideas that you can implement into your marketing strategy and see the same great results that my own authors have seen when they implemented it into their marketing plan. You can get your very own totally free copy of how to market your book creatively and effectively even when you're flat broke if you jump on to www.readingtransforms.com. Up near the top, you're going to see a spot where you can download it completely for free. It is my gift to you. I hope that you take this PDF and you use it in your marketing strategy and see incredible results, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. I'm KM Robinson of KM Robinson Photography and Reading Transforms. Stay inspired. Do you have a new book releasing soon? Do you want to create a unique experience for your fans on your book release day? Do you want to interact with your fans, celebrate your book, and be the talk of the industry? Book launch live events bring all this and more right into your grasp. Rita Award winner and New York Times bestselling author Pin Tip Dunn called it the highlight of my release day. Dying to find out if this is for you? Visit booklaunchlive.readingtransforms.com for more info and see if this is the perfect thing for your release day. Do you ever feel like you're alone in the book world? When the conferences die down and you're sitting in front of your computer alone writing your next manuscript, things can seem very isolated. But they don't have to be. Do you ever feel like social media changes are getting the better of you? Do you feel like you need support that you just don't have? You don't have to be on your own trying to solve the algorithms. Join the Reading Transforms community for a group of authors and book world professionals going through the same things as you. Connect and support one another. Hear from industry leaders on technology changes, and get the latest updates on RTTV, the weekly live broadcast that teaches you to market your books and brand yourself more efficiently and creatively. Get the community and support that you've been longing for, and surround yourself with authors just like you. We'll see you there.